Hey YouTube, a bit full of goats here, and I picked up a new deck recently, Sunavalon Rikka. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think I'd like this deck as much as I did, because it's more of a full combo deck, and I like my mid-range and control strategies, but then again, I've always quite liked plant decks, like Plant Synchro and stuff, and yeah, I had fun with it, so let's take a look. We're playing 3 of the main monsters, Sunseed Loci, along with 3 unexpected die, and 1/1 to search it out. So, Loci is the core of this deck. It brings on most of your Link monsters, and it's what the deck revolves around. It's also probably one of the better decks that have done this, where they base the deck around null monster. Like, you compare things like Gen X, which are awful, and Blue Eyes, which are good, but needed so many alternatives that the Blue Eyes itself really felt superfluous. This is one of the few times they made the deck based on the null monster, but it made it actually work out well. Unexpected die makes the deck so powerful because it's not a once per turn, which means your opponent effectively needs 2 interruptions to stop you getting started with your plays. And with the same with the 1/1. One card I'm actually considering trying this deck is Peririus Map, which lets you pay half your life points, add a 0 attack monster to your hand. The monster effects are negated to summon it, but who cares? It's an all monster. And that would give me another 3 copies of Loci, but problem is space, so we'll see how that goes. Next up, 2 Sunvine Sowing. This is what we get off of our Link. Basically, using it to get this extender out. Basically, what you do is you summon the Sunseed, you make the Link 1, you get this, summon this, use the effect to get this, because effect brings back the Sunseed, and also you can get out another Link 1 to carry on your plays. But Sunseed Sowing is also good if you get a bad hand, because it can get any Sunseed, including Loci. So you can't extend this far, but you can summon your plays if you open up this and a bad hand. This card, unfortunately, is one of the worst bricks I've ever seen in a deck. Like, if you draw this, your combos are going to be a lot worse. But yeah. And finally, for our searches, we have Lumphire Blossom. In a pinch, this can get us our starter, or it can extend our combos by getting out the Therion monsters, or start your Rikka plays. You can play more than one of this if you wish. I think one's enough for this particular strategy. Also, I can't consider trying for this deck if I can figure out how to make it work as Mardell, because not only can she search any card in this deck pretty much, but she's also a level 9, so it makes Hyperion slightly easy to go into. Anyway, next up we have the Therion package. 1 Lily, 1 Regulus, 1 Field Spell. This is pretty simple. Lily's a plant, so she can extend your plays. She can then search out the Field Spell, which gets Therion, which is the negate. Very simple. If you've seen Summer Dragons, you know these cards. That's it for the Sunavalon, for the Sunseed engine, and the Therion engine. Next we have the Rikkas. So 3 Princess. This card can summon herself from your hand, but she plant locks you. And when she's in the graveyard or in your hand, you can shuffle her back into the deck for a negate. So this gives you bonus disruption, easy access to your rank 4 toolbox, or even other ranks if you manage to get the level 8 monster. She's also really good with the Cannon Tree from the sideboard, as is every other Rikka card. 2 Petal. Rikka Petal. That she is a search. She's another good starter. She's other Rikka cards. Also being level 1, she works well with one of the Rikka spells, as you can add her and Sunseed Loci to your hand. Next we got 2 Mudan. She lets you tribute a card and search a Rikka spell trap, so she gets you another form of disruption or another extender, depending on what you need. And going along with that, we have 1 copy of Primula. Now basically what you want to do is you want to use this card's tribute effect to get this one out. That gives you access to the rank 4. And finally, we have 1 Snowdrop. This card lets you summon itself another plant. And she can turn all your levels into the same as any plant on the field. So this gives you access to your rank 8s, your rank 4s, etc, etc. Next with the Rikkas, we have the Field Spell, Double Con. This card lets you add a Rikka spell trap if you control a Rikka monster. So you want to do your Rikka plays, then play this. And it also lets you, once per turn, essentially Monarch Stormforth, because you contribute an opponent's monster for card effects. So this turns all your Rikka tribute effects into disruption. Speaking of which, 3 copies of Rikka Glamour. This card lets you add a Rikka from deck to hand. And let's wish I can read this right. So yeah, and then if you tribute a monster, for it, you can also add a plant at the same level, which is why I said you can get Loci with this card, because you can just search Loci and Petal. And again, if you have the field spell up, this card is essentially a soul release. That's actually good. Finally, for our Rikka engine, we have 1 sheet. This card lets you negate and steal monster effects, and again, another way to tribute opponent monsters with a field spell in play. And that's it for our plants. Most of the combo part of most of the engine part of the deck. Yeah, this was why I like this deck as a combo deck. Most a lot of the ones because it gives you like something like Dragon Link, it gives you options to play a bunch of non-engine cards. So for this one, we got 3 Impim, 3 Nib, 3 Ghost Mansion, and 3 Ash Blossom. Now, if you're playing in a more traditionally competitive scene, obviously I'd say play Drawl. This is purely for my meta. And that's it, 40 cards. If you want to, you can add more cards to this. If you want to bury your bricks, most the Sunset Effect monster. But I only drew it once, and I did actually manage to make some decent plays, so it's not really necessary. So for our links, 3 Dryas. This card lets you search. You make this card with Loci. Lets you search a Sunset spell trap, so you get the sewing. And then it lets you gain life points that the Sunset sewing will cost you, and summon this from your extra deck. So this card by itself can set you up for a Jasmine play with card sacrifice for it. This card just gains you more life points. Oh, also one thing I want to mention, Sunset Sewing in the graveyard is Disruption, because it allows you to blank a destruction of one of your plants, which gives this deck some amounts of a grind game, which a lot of combo decks don't have. Speaking of Jasmine, we have 2 Jasmine. This card is insane. If they are going to hit this deck, this is what they'll hit, absolutely. Basically, what it lets you do is, it lets you sacrifice a plant. That's pointing to add a plant to hand, so it gets off your Rikka plays. If you get this card push summons, you can get your Loci and go do those plays. Also, if you gain life points, this card lets you add plants to your hand, so it can further your combos, or it can help you build up for next turn. But yeah, this card is busted. I don't think it's going to hit this list because Rikka Sunavalon is in the top deck at the moment with things like Cash and Pyramid around. But if they get hit, I fully expect Rikka Sunavalon to take a few more spots and it might get hit next list. Next we have 1 Sylvan. This card lets us basically scry 3 and summon plants, but they can't be used as a link material. So basically, what we want to do with this card is you want to set up and get 2 level 4 Rikkas, or 1 Rikka and the Rikka that changes levels. This limit lets you go into your XC, please. 1 Malleus. This card lets you bring back your Loci, so basically he's there to link climb into this. Let me see if I can pronounce this right. Bench Lancer the Resurgent. This card is a quick effect negate. It's a quick effect bounce that also reduces your life points, so it can work well with Dryas. In addition to this, you can also use your links in your graveyard to bring it back, giving this deck a bit more resurgence. And finally, if we're going for second, we got Sunvine Thrasher. This is a Gleo Guardian effect that also gains points equal to the link rating of a Sunavalon card. So this card can be a massive Ghost Second OTK enabler. Finally, for our XCs, we have 2 Sternala, 1 Teardrop, and 1 Hyperion. Hyperion is just a spell and trap negate. Teardrop is a soul exchange, and if you have a plant under, which you always will, it's a Monarch Stormforth. This card is great disruption, and it's a great way to get around things that just can't be destroyed. And finally, Rikka Stella, she can bring back plants in the graveyard. And if you use it for your Rikka effect, you can summon above 5 higher plants, so that makes that's how we get easy access to Hyperion. And that's the main deck. Sorry if I'm a bit rambly there, guys. This is my first time playing the deck. For our side, we have one Notoria Whiprose. This card is basically like a Shogun Shian for the archetype, with the point of one spell trap per turn. One Predator Plant, a Spider Orchid. This card is both back row hate and an extender. This card's actually really good if you're in a more grindy matchup because it can add more plants to your hand for follow-up plays. Lightning Storm and Harpies because with the new tins, Labyrinth is become quite popular in my locals. Has Exorcister. It's also good against other heavy backward decks like Eldritch, so he's playing from time in my locals, etc. And now the next plant exclusive card, 2 Polyenosis. This card is essentially a Solemn Judgment for plants. You can tribute out one of your plants and basically the Solemn Judgments. Speaking of which, we're also still playing for the regular Solemn Judgment because, again, going first power is really good. Basically, going first, if I'm going first, I side out so hand trap, that would be good, like Nib. I put these 5 cards in. Speaking of which, 3 anti-spell. This is for the absurd amount of runic decks that have popped up since the tins came out. Which of course means they always mill it. And finally, 3 copies of Confiscation, aka Spiritual Water Ad Ioe. Basically, you strip it of water, which means supposed to be a Rikka, and you get to confiscate a card from your opponent's hand. I mean, I don't need to explain why this is so good. Confiscation's been banned for, a decade now, at least. And that was Rikka Sunavalon. I definitely enjoyed this deck, and I'm looking forward to getting better with it, because last night was my first time playing the deck. Also, guys, stay tuned, because my remake of my Strongest Decks video should be out tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time.